The Industrial Revolution. The advances made during the period from the mid-1700s until the late 1900s permanently changed the world. Indeed, the sheer number of discoveries, improvements, and reforms of this era, known as the Industrial Revolution, is staggering. Advances were witnessed not only in agriculture and technology, but in society itself. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, a large percentage of the population worked in the agricultural sector rather than in the industrial sector. With the Industrial Revolution, however, this emphasis on agriculture decreased dramatically. Despite the decrease, the area of agriculture still experienced significant advances and new ways and means of production. One of the most important of these was the concept of crop rotation. Farmers discovered that the nutrients in the soil became depleted after many years of farming the same crop on a given plot of land. This caused the crops to do very poorly over time, and in some cases to fail. Farmers of the era developed a remedy for this crippling problem: crop rotation. They found that if they grew different crops in the field from year to year, certain crops replenished the necessary nutrients to farm the other crops better. For example, a common crop rotation would be wheat the first year, followed by turnips, and then oats or barley, and lastly clover. In addition to replenishing the nutrients, the different crops used different nutrients. This allowed the soil more time to naturally regain some of the nutrients it lost. Aside from improved growing methods, the Industrial Revolution witnessed marked innovations and improvements in agricultural equipment as well. The cotton gin was an important invention which separated the seeds from the cotton at the time of harvest and radically changed the agricultural industry in that cotton could be produced and sold much more quickly. Another important advancement in agriculture was the cultivation of breeding techniques designed specifically to create better crops or livestock. By breeding together the two best cows or the best plants, the offspring was bigger and healthier. Similarly, farmers selectively bred the best potatoes and the best turnips to produce better crops. As a result, both potatoes and turnips became very popular during this time. In addition to agriculture, a number of other industries experienced tremendous technological improvements. Advances were ubiquitous and varied in area from textile production to transportation to communication. Perhaps one of the most far-reaching changes was the widespread usage of railroads. Consequently, the transportation of goods, products, and people over long distances became easier and faster. Another important change in transportation occurred due to the use of steam to power boats. No longer was shipping dependent upon the amount of wind power available. Trade increased as a result. Communication also irrevocably changed during the Industrial Revolution. The telephone was invented in 1876, and postal services became more widespread and efficient. In textile production, machinery was built that made work much faster and increased productivity considerably. The net effect of all this agricultural and technological change was a transformation in the structure of society itself. The increase in industry led to increased urbanization. Before this time, most of the population lived in rural areas, and population growth was steady but certainly not booming. However, during the Revolution, the population grew by 1% annually in most of Europe and 3% annually in the United States. In addition, data show that there were only about 12 cities in 1800 that had populations of 100,000 or more. Yet by 1900, there were 150 cities that met that criterion. The class structure changed as well. The introduction of the middle class meant that there were more people with expanded buying power. However, families' financial states depended largely on the employer, and economics was much more related to networks of people than it had been in the past. Some historians argue that Marxism actually grew out of this particular aspect of the Industrial Revolution, forever changing political structures. The effects of the Industrial Revolution can still be felt today. Were it not for this important historical period, the world would be far less modern and convenient. Indeed, the Industrial Revolution reinvented agriculture, technology, and society.